here's why you should stick around to the end of this workshop. I'm going to teach you how to stay on track with your goals throughout summer, and you can take this into whether it just be your normal day-to-day events that might happen at weekends. You can use this same kind of strategy I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to teach you also how to adapt your training over the summer period because obviously it can get busy. Every week can change, week in, week out. You might have less days in training, more days in training. I'm going to teach you how you can actually adjust that per week to week. And I'll also have a special offer at the end for a couple of people. So here's a little bit about myself. So I've always had a passion for fitness. From a young age, always into football, riding my bike, even fishing. Um, Started actually in the gym and at the age of 19 when I was at uni. Took it as a bit more of a escape from uni life because I did not get along with any of my flatmates in halls. So I went from weighing about 9 stone, like piss wet through, to 10 stone ish lean in about 3 years. Carried that on for till about the 5 year mark in my training, where then I met my now wife and I put on a lot of weight. Got up to about 85 kg and had a dad bod. And this was around a year into when I started coaching. So we're only going back to 2023 there in that third picture. So from the 3 years on, I am now around 75 kg in that final picture that was taken a couple months ago. And that's roughly what my physique looks like on a normal day to day basis. Average, still got a bit of fat, but also happy with my weight. Um, Now, here's a couple of my clients. Ellie has been one of my long term clients. She's been with me now for 3 years on and off. About roughly 2 or 3 times she's stopped working with me to go ahead on her own and not worked out. But in her first 12 weeks, she lost 5 inches around her waist. Now, it seems like a lot when you think about it, but with where Ellie was in terms of her nutrition was way different in comparison to where she is now. So Ellie originally started with me roughly consuming about 1,300 calories a day, and she thought that that was a good amount to be on due to a previous PT. Um, as people in my program now know, that is nowhere near enough to sustain you on a daily basis at all. So from there, she's a mental health worker, so you can understand how busy she is on the wards and helping people who are vulnerable. And between them two pictures, there was only actually a 10 kg difference in her overall weight. So over the course of 3 years, she's gone through many recomps, albeit some on her own course, some with some of myself. But she's achieved a hell of a different physique over the course of these 3 years that she's worked with me. Next, we have Brooke. Now, he's built a lot of muscle mass, but reduces fat at the same time. Again, he's another one of my clients that I've had for about 3 years. He's only recently left me this January to because he moved to a different gym. But he's always been into his fitness. His lifestyle's always been like he basically does fitness for his vanity. He's always said that. He often has weekends of wine, easily 2 or 3 glasses of wine most weekends. Goes on about 6 holidays a year, and he still manages to keep the shape that he's now got. He's now actually in Las Vegas, enjoying his 40th birthday holiday. So he's living life at the moment and still enjoying his life. Now, here's Jen, one of my recent clients who's only worked with me for 7 weeks. Um, but she's been stuck at 257 pounds for 4 years. And within 5 weeks, she dropped 7 pounds. So it shows that just in by changing some of your habits and sticking to basics, how much you can actually lose. She was also told that she had to cut out carbs because she was a pre-diabetic. Now, I'm not a firm believer in anything like that. You still can have carbs and enjoy your food and still lose weight, and she's a testament to that. So right now, you probably feel like that no matter what diet you try, you can't lose weight, and you're sick of restrictive eating, and no matter what you do, it's ruining your social life. Um, and you could also feel like when you look in the mirror, you hate the way you look, you're constantly covered up. But should you ever feel like that about your own body? You shouldn't be. Here's mistake number one. You're restricting your meals by removing carbs, you're removing other sources of foods that you actually enjoy, like chocolates, ice cream, whatever it might be. You're too restrictive with your meals. Other things is you're in an extreme calorie deficit. You're cutting yourself down to 1,000 calories a day and expecting that that's going to make things work. Or on the other side, you're trying keto and trying to stay in ketosis for more than what is actually possible. Here's another mistake you might be making. You're throwing yourself in at the deep end before fixing any of the basics first. So this might be that you've started training 4 times a week, but you're yet to even fix the fact that you're not hitting 10K steps or you're not hitting your bare minimum daily average of steps above your what you should be doing naturally based on what you're currently doing. It also could mean that you're not sleeping as well enough, but you're still trying to do your absolute most in terms of just going to the gym and not fixing everything else behind it. Or you're potentially copying one of your friends or something that you've seen on social media. Now, what you need to understand is you are not your friend. You are not someone that you see on social media. You are your own individual, and you cannot use the same plan as someone else and expect the same results. Every plan needs to be different and tailored to your own goal and you as a person. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you how you can stay on track with all your goals and actually achieve your goals throughout summer without missing out on any of the fun. And by doing this, I'm going to show you by using the 3 pillars of fitness. Now, the 3 pillars of fitness are nutrition, training, and mindset. And within those, you then have many different factors. So, in terms of nutrition, I will teach all my clients and tell everyone that you need to be flexible with your dieting and allow yourself your unrestricted food. So, you can allow yourself to have chocolate, to have ice cream, to have wine, anything that's going to help you stay on track, allow it. Put it in and calculate your macros accordingly and track your food. So with calorie counting, you need to find your TDEE and reduce what you are currently doing in terms of what your height, weight, age, and activity levels, and reduce that by 200 to 500 calories, but do not go below your BMR. So a lot of my clients, obviously, that are in the call right now will know all this, but there's a simple website called the TDEEcalculator.net, and this you can find everything you will need to know. But knowing all this is one thing, but then how to actually balance it into your calories for over the summer or over any social events is the next step. So here's one way of doing it. It's called calorie banking. So here's an example of, let's say, a woman in her mid 30s that's trying to lose weight and she's on 1,700 calories a day. With that, what you would do is you would take your 1,700 calories, you'll multiply it by 7 because of 7 days of the week. You would then get your overall calories for your week. So that would be 11,900 calories for the week. Now, the banking happens between the Saturdays and Sundays. You want to have more calories left over. So you're taking your overall calories and you're dividing them over the course of the week. Now, what you do here is you set yourself a goal limit for your weekend. Say you're going out on a Saturday and a Sunday. This could be a Friday, Saturday, it doesn't really matter. But for this example, we're going to say Saturday and Sunday. You set yourself a limit of 2,000 calories for both of those days. You would then minus that from your weekly calories. And you would then take that number and divide that by the other 5. So in this example, that's 4,000 calories for the week, meaning you would have, oh God, quick maths, can't do it. 6,000. Nope, can't do the maths. My head's gone. 8,000. No, 7,900 for the week. There we go. Got there in the end. So then you would have 1,580 calories to spread across the other days. For this example, this will put someone very close to her, like this example would put her very close to her BMR. But as long as you're not going too far under it, you would be fine because you're going to get the extra calories at the weekend, which would then be classified as a refeed weekend or a refeed day. So this allows your body to restore the glycogen and everything that your muscles need. Now, this can also be altered depending on what day you're having your social events or in terms of if it's just 1 day a week. So the same number of calories, but for this example, you're only going to be going out on a Friday. So you're going to give yourself extra calories than what you would have done for over these 2 days. So here, for example, you could have 2,300 calories on your Friday, which would be more than enough to have enjoy a meal out and or a barbecue or any form of that event, and still allow yourself to stay under your calories for the overall week. So for 2,300 calories on 1 day, it would then mean 1,600 calories for the rest of the week. You can see that there's only actually a 20 calorie difference in those two options across your entire week. So you're not actually having to change too much in terms of um, calories intake over your overall week, just to allow yourself to have an extra full day of an extra 300 calories. And you can see how easy it can be to mess up this strategy if you've got the wrong structure in place. So this is what I see very often is that people think they're doing everything correct all the way through the week, sitting at the 1,700 calories that they've followed, but then at the weekends they're thinking, oh, I can reward myself this full weekend. And very quickly you can go out for a meal, tan 5 plus, maybe 6 plus drinks, and very easily hit 3,500 calories. And then let's say on the Saturday you've hit 3,500 calories. The Sunday you're not really doing much, but then you go out and also eat loads more junk just to make you feel yourself feel better. You're easily going to hit another 3,500 calories in snacks and fizzy drinks, whatever it might be. But you can easily hit another 3,500 calories. Now that would leave your overall weekly calorie intake to 5,500 calories. Following this example, for example, so that would put you at 3,600 calories over your weekly deficit, which in effect puts you in a surplus of 2,200 calories if you was to spread that across the entire week. So at that point, you're either doing one of two things. You're either hitting maintenance or you're in a surplus. It depends how deep of a deficit you were at the original 1,700. If you were only in a 300 calorie deficit, you would then be in a surplus, which it shows how easily it can be that you put on weight while still thinking that you're doing everything right. So here is another option, and a lot of my clients use this option. You can stick to your normal calories throughout the entire week, including on your social events. All it would mean is that you change your meals on the days of your social events. So you would have lower calorie meals earlier in the day, which then you would be putting on more focus into your macros at them times. So you'd focus more in on your proteins and your fats earlier in the day to get those in. So when you go out for your meal, you then can have your carbs, or if you're having a barbecue, for example, you might want to flip it so you can have more protein in the evening and have more of your carbs earlier in the day. It completely depends on what event you're going to. Now, in terms of that, what about when you bring in alcohol into the situation? So if you're planning to go out on a night out, you need to set yourself a limit. Without a limit, you're going to send yourself overboard, and it very quickly becomes that 3 drinks turns into 4, 4 will turn into 6, 6 will turn into 10, and you're then completely off track. You've very easily consumed 2,000 calories in just alcohol. So you need to set yourself a limit to begin with. Then from there, you want to be choosing lower calorie options. I always suggest a clear spirit or diet mixer. If you don't like clear spirits, then your next ones are either a light beer or a dry wine. All of these have lower calories, but in terms of obviously the effect they have in terms of the alcoholic effect, you're still going to get that somewhat of a buzz, I would put it down to. I don't classify it as a buzz myself, but a lot of people get a buzz from drinking, so that's what I'm going to say. Now, from there, what you need to do is you need to prioritize having a high protein meal and and hitting your fiber before you start drinking. So this could be an hour before, 45 minutes before, just long enough for it to settle in your stomach. What this will do is just cause an absorption barrier for when the alcohol hits, making you don't get the same effect from the alcohol straight away. The next thing you're going to need to do is reduce your calories earlier in the day by about 500 calories, ideally in carbs. So alcohol is majority carbs. It's predominantly sugar. Um, so that's why you need to reduce your carbs earlier in the day. From there, you would then allow yourself those 3 to 4 drinks in the evening. And finally, on the last thing, when it comes to alcohol, you have to be tracking your drinks. If you're not tracking your drinks, you don't know what calories are actually in them to make sure you actually are staying within your 500 calorie limit or your 3 to 4 drinks. And that's how you're going to stay on track. Now, the next one is in terms of training. So, what if you've planned a social event and you know you're not going to, and it's on as one of your training days, and you know full well you're not going to be able to get that training session in? Let's take, for example, you've committed to work training 3 days a week, and your workout split is a push pull legs. So you've done one session, whether it be that you've done a push session, a pull session, and then this event's come up. What you could then do is turn your second session into a full body session. So you're not going to get the same effects as what you would do, but you're still going to get a little bit extra. You can make that full body session a little bit more legs focused with a little bit of the muscles that you've missed from doing. If you only did a push, you could then add a little bit more pull into that, but you're still going to get the same effect of having done the muscle groups in that week. However, if you've planned early enough in the head and you know that you can't then get that session in, you could change your split entirely. So you normally do a push pull legs split and you can only do 2 days. You would then change to an upper lower split. So you're going to do less exercise on each muscle group, but you are then going to effectively still be able to train the body enough over the course of that week and not miss the days. Now, the other thing is what you could do if any training is a non-necessity, you have to do by bare minimum your daily steps. It's not a necessity to go into the gym, but increasing your NEAT is the main thing that's going to get you keeping on track with your goals throughout the entirety of summer, winter, whatever it is, whenever season it is. Hitting your minimum daily steps is what's going to keep you on track. Same thing when it comes to progressive overload. You need to make sure that week in, week out, you are doing some form of progressive overload, whether it be regulating your tempo in your exercises, increasing your reps, your volume, increasing your resistance, anything on that list, something needs to increase. The basic example would be if you're hitting your 10K daily steps and you've been stuck on your 10K daily steps for the last 3 weeks, there is no reason why you shouldn't be pushing that to a 12K or 13K. The 10K steps is your minimum that is recommended. But as long as you're doing more than what you were previously doing, it is more than enough. So increasing your NEAT. So NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This means walking, cleaning, standing, fidgeting, and gardening. During the summer, this is your perfect time to get a lot of your steps in. Is during by doing gardening. It quickly adds up. You just walking backwards and forwards with a mower or walking up and down your garden with a strimmer. It can quickly add up your steps. I had a client the other day that put it in the group chat that he'd done 20,000 steps just by gardening a single day. Bear in mind, he told me that he'd only done 16 during one of our sessions, but I digress on that one. Burface lied to me, but fine. um, this is like increasing your NEAT is far more important than going to the gym. Like I've just said, your NEAT is the second most calories burnt from your TDEE. That's where you're going to get the majority of the progress. So from your TDEE, you've got your BMR, then you've got your NEAT, then you've got your TEF, which is the thermic effect of food, and then you've got exercise being about 5%. So the gym is not a necessity. It's making sure that your NEAT is the necessity, especially if you've got social events on coming up and you can't make the gym and can't get your what you tried to get in. You need to make sure that you're at least getting your steps. And you have no reason to when it's summer. It's warm. You just need to get out and about. Unless it's absolutely chucking it down, then I would say get in the gym and just go onto the treadmill or a Stairmaster. Just doing something is better than doing nothing. um, and just focus on increasing your step count beyond your norm. Don't worry too much about hitting that 10K. 10K is the end goal, and then further past that is anything bonus. And the final pillar is your mindset, like I said earlier. So you need to make a plan and you need to stick to it. That is the first step of having a schedule. You need to set a rough time for every meal, roughly 3 to 5 meals a day. Um, Ideally, I say five because it allows you to spread out meals a little bit more and allows you to have two snacks as well. I mean, your calories in your main meals are little bit lower, but added in the snacks, you can then easily hit your protein goals. And plan your day in advance. So if you've got a social event and you know it's been coming up, you need to plan your meals early enough. So depending on which option you've chose from what I've spoke about in this workshop, you can plan based on that from your week, from each day to day. It's very easy to fall off that plan if it's not set in stone. And I get it. Spontaneous events will come up, and but it's how you've planned that will make the difference. So if you've planned that in for that day you didn't have any social events coming up, the easiest thing you can do if someone comes to you and says, "I've got this event coming up today, this evening, um, are you coming?" and you agree to it, it is then at that moment you then need to switch what meals you're having were and seeing whether or not you can then change up your eating habits in order to actually allow for that event to happen. If it's not possible to happen, I know it's as tricky as it sounds, you're just going to have to bite the bullet and say you can't go. Spontaneous events are one of those outliers that you have to be a little bit more resilient with yourself and know what's more important. But if you can make them work, even better. So, planning in advance, you need to pick what calorie counting style works best for you. So, if going back to earlier, the calorie banking style works best, stick with it. If sticking to the same calories works best for you because it maintains a level playing field in terms of like your mindset, your mood, doesn't make you feel tired, then stick with that. It's finding what works for you. And if you plan to drink alcohol, plan a time to go home and stick to it. Don't stick around and trying to be peer pressured into staying because your friends are staying out. The best and easiest thing you can do is book a taxi and make sure that you're getting in that taxi at the time that you've planned it for. And the next thing you need to do is get back to your normal routine the day after. The last thing you want to be doing is moping around on the couch and letting the next day roll over into another off day. So, finally, just going to message me if you want to find out more about the offer that I mentioned at the start. Just message me the word offer on Instagram and we'll have a chat. So, these are the three things. Following this, you've got three options. One, you do nothing and take everything I've just said and just basically just let it go all over your head. Two, you try it on your own and see how you get on with it, and I can be in touch in a couple of weeks, couple of days, whatever. See how you're getting on. Or option three, you book a call with me, we set a plan, and we get you on board. Let's go to questions.